One, two, three. We are live. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Every Point's a Winner. Hopefully, you can subscribe, like, even if you dislike, put your dislike. But hopefully, you like and subscribe because we need some subscribers. That we're slowly building the tank up, but we need to have a lot more of you people joining us, especially you NRL lovers. And didn't we have some cracking games for round 3 over the weekend? I'll just get this a little bit tighter for our Spotify. Let's have a look at the first game, Thursday, the 20th of March. It was the repeat of the grand final. And as you can see, just in the background there, I've just noticed in memoriam my nights, my sad, sad nights. We'll talk about them later anyway. But we're up to the game at Amy Park in Melbourne. And it was Melbourne Storm 30 scraping over the line, beating Panthers. I thought they had more tries than them as well, Melbourne, as the game went on. Panthers tried hard. They seemed to lose their way a little bit when they lost their legend player and the coach's son. And Cleary, he got a pretty bad head knock, I think. The mandatory week he'll be missing this week as well. There's a couple of heavy clashes in the game, a little bit of spite. I thought Munster played out of his skin. We can have a look at some of the highlights or the packages and stats from the game. Anderson went over in the fourth. Alamonte had a really big game, I thought. Paul Alamonte went over twice. Brian To'o twice. He had a massive game. Now, we got those who followed Epaw's tips. We got that pretty much the fundamental. I thought it was fundamental for Elise Katoa to go over in the 10th minute. So that's great to get that. If you can get that first leg up with your 2-leg parlay, it's a very good chance of getting it if you've got a few into your standout leg. Now, our standout leg was Elise Katoa. Unfortunately, I did a little bit of a silly thing on putting my bets on. I accidentally put $350 Elise Katoa into Cameron Munster as he was like the second or third leg for me. My first leg, of course, was Brian To'o and Elise Katoa. And I've gone, oh, God, oh, shit, I think I said. And I've quickly changed it, but it still only changed it to 35, and I didn't notice. I think I was busy at the time, and I just rushed it. And I accidentally had a $35 double, which is usually my limit for the entire night over the 3 games, or the 2 games, 3 games, whatever it is. And I was devastated when Munster didn't go in because you can't ask for a refund once you haven't double-checked it. So be careful, people, when you're putting your doubles on. Be very, very careful. You've got the right amount there before you click yes. I was in such a rush, had quite a few things to do before the game. Don't leave your bets until the last 5 minutes because that's when you leave mistakes. And what happened to me on Saturday, we'll get to anyway as we get to that game. But Grant Anderson went over. Xavier Coates, unbelievable. Tyron Wishart came on and scored. Now, I'll be the first to put my hand up, and I usually have Wishart as a third or fourth legger going into my standout. So I didn't account for him to come onto the pitch and score such a great try out on the flanks there. Ryan Pappenhausen went over from a great Cameron Munster kick. Casey McLean went over from that set play out of the scrum. Brian To'o's tries were great. Alamonte, as I said, was nearly my man of the match on a losing side. I thought Elise Katoa played out of his skin. Anderson, I think, went off as well. And so they had to do a bit of shuffling there. Let's have a look at the stats. The possession surprisingly went with Penrith 53% to 47% Melbourne. The all runs were fairly even, a little bit more for Penrith. And the kicks fairly even. The tackles, 342. It's a pretty even game right through the stats here. 342 for Panthers, and 322 the Storm. Missed tackles, 29, surprisingly, for Storm. That is a surprise. That's why I'd say they let them back into the match. 29 missed tackles and for Storm, and only 23 for Penrith. Most tackles, another true workhorse is Harry Grant, and Isaiah Yeo. Well, he's a monster. Of course, he panicked when he saw his captain being led from the field, and it certainly gave Storm the advantage, if you ask me. Most metres ran. Well, there you go. Harry Grant, just a work animal, and very good from Brian To'o. And line breaks 3 to Alamonte. He's a lethal kid. There's no doubt about it. And I'm just hitting record here for the potty. And let's get to the next match. Is there much you can say about that game? I don't think having their captain on there, Cleary, would have made a difference to the result. It may have been possibly a little bit tighter and went right down to the wire, but Melbourne seemed to be the better side all round in that game. The Friday night match, Warriors. This haunted me, this match. I tipped the Roosters, as you punters know, against the Warriors at the home side. How many times have I told you not to back against Warriors in New Zealand? They absolutely go crazy with the home ground support and the little drums playing all the time. But playing out of his skin was Leatua. He scored twice. I had him the week before, and including I had Chanel Harris-Tavita. He's playing out of his skin at the moment. Nafahu White went over. I think there was a turning point for me why East, who led for virtually 3/4 of the match, they led for right up to for half time and a bit into the second half. So losing 14-6 by 8 points, 3 tries to 1. I think the better side won, but the clinch for me was Connor Watson, who's an absolute workhorse and a work animal. When they lost him at a vital stage, I think that made East very vulnerable around the ruck. Nafahu White, I'm glad he scored. Sandon Smith got bashed, and that was difficult to see because we had him as our standout with quite a few try scorers for the Warriors, but we didn't have much luck after getting the first anytime try scorer double for the first match. Just looking at some vital stats here, to the Leatoa, Harris Tavita. Watch him like a hawk, guys. He's one of the best players on the field, if you ask me. Possession, 53%. That made a big difference over the Roosters, 47. Got to hold the ball, Roosters. Hold the ball hard over there when you've got some monsters coming at you in defence. Kicks fairly even. Kicking meters fairly even. Tackles. This is the difference here. If you can't hold the ball, what are you going to do? You're going to tackle, and that's going to create a massive amount of fatigue. So tackles made 448 for the Roosters. They must have been gassed at the end of that game. 448. So surprising, the score really didn't blow out. So a few mistakes from Warriors, but they threw the ball around by the looks of it here. Missed tackles only 40 for the Warriors. So that's a critical stat just there. Most tackles, Wade Egan, what a monster, 48. But this is really impressive from Siwa Wong, 54. That's big. Most metres run was Charles Nickel-Kortstad. He had a really good game. And Daniel Tupou did a lot of running to try and help some of those tiring forwards out. Tupou, 2 line breaks, and Ali Leatua, 2 line breaks, which led to tries virtually. Okay, so let's get to the second of the Friday night matches. and this was a cracker. The local derby between the Cowboys and Brisbane Broncos, 26 points to 16, only 10 points at the end. And who do you think? I mean, everyone's talked about it, how much of a lethal monster on two legs Payne Haas is. The run was probably even better than Bobby Lindner, what I saw with his solo try. It was just fantastic. He's a monster. He's got speed. He's got a jig off his leg. He's got that sidestep. And he's just probably one of the best forwards in the game. You could say Isaiah Towell, but Payne Haas is at the moment playing out of his skin. And that's got to be 10 points a game, maybe even more for Broncos. Grabowski went over from a solid run up through the ruck there. Adam Reynolds. Oh, I just remember what I did in this game. I did tip you the double Jackson Purdue into Adam Reynolds. I went to the club next door. I won't tell you what club it is. We won't give away our location. Went to the club next door, and I thought, have I got all my selections? You know, the only one I left out was Adam Reynolds going into Jackson Purdue. I had Jackson Purdue with all the other players except Adam Reynolds, and he was one of my second bankers there. So my main banker was Jackson Purdue, who scored that runaway try from a loose ball right near the end of the game. And I was hoping it was Scott Drinkwater because I'd realised, oh, God, if this is Purdue, it was the only ticket I didn't put on. Check your tickets, folks. So that was two mistakes that I did from Thursday into Friday. I was bound to have a shocker on the punt. So always check your ticket, folks. And if you put your 3 legs or 4 legs on, whether they be for $1.50 or $2, most of these, when tipping, that was a really good one because Jackson Purdue was around 7-2 and Adam Reynolds was about 9-2 to score. So a very good double I missed there. And that was the story from the match. Adam Reynolds just had a freaking blinder. Scott Drinkwater, I'm just looking at the conversions here. The only disappointing game I thought was from Reece Walsh. He's still not playing to the potential that we know he can play. God, if he gets back to that form that we've seen 2 years ago, anything could happen. So at halftime, it was 12-0 to the Broncos, and Cowboys bust their backsides to stay with them. But how do you stop a monster on the burst like that, only 15 metres out from the line? Very difficult. For me, he was nearly the man of the match. Payne Haas. Murray Talagi scored. We had him, but we didn't put that ticket on with Jackson Purdue. That really crushed me. So hopefully you guys collected and you followed the tips we gave you on the preview program, episode 5. So let's get to that was the stats out of that match. I'm just looking here. Penalty goals. Yeah, it was a pretty entertaining match. There's no doubt about it. The possession, 53-47, kicks the same, and missed tackles, 38 to the Cowboys and 29 to the Broncos. Tackles made pretty much the same. Most tackles, Jordan Ricky, 43 and 44. What a monster of a game Reece Robson had. I don't think he'll be losing his State of Origin spot if you ask me. Payne Haas, most run meters, 214. Jackson Purdue, well, he did a lot of running, didn't he, with that runaway try as well. But I really like him. I think he's about half a year away from really coming into his own. But he wasn't in as my standout for no reason whatsoever. I think he's an outstanding player of potential, high potential. So let's get on to the next match. And that was a fairly entertaining match. But we go to across the Saturday, and the full-time scoreboard at Shark Park It looked like going to be a trouncing at one stage. I honestly thought it was going to be 40-0 or 40-6. Sharks just dominated. They are really on fire, and the combination um, between the halves were fantastic. I thought Trindle, who scored as well, had a classic game. Nicholas, what's his name? Should I say? Nicholas Hines. Nicholas. He had a blinder, I thought, and he really gelled well. They're slowly getting that combination happening. The halves and the 5'8" Braden Trindle. God, he's a good player. I used to have him in my anytime try scorer list as a prolific try scorer a year ago. So Will Kennedy played out of his skin. I thought he also went over. Britton Nakora, he was the standout for us. But for some reason, I end up putting Adam Fanua-Blake, who just missed going over, and I didn't have a South try scorer for the anytime try scorer. Jamie Humphries, 2 weeks in a row now he's gone over. Firstly against St George with that mad field goal, and he played out of his skin, I thought. Humphries. Jack Whiten finally went over, back from a bit of a sideline injury. And looking at the conversions here, Nicholas Hines, he kicked fairly well, and it's hard to kick sometimes at Shark Park. And also Jamie Humphries got 2 from 2. Half-time was 20-0. That's why I honestly thought if South don't come out and break their asses here, this will be 40-0. So it was a very, very professional-looking Cronulla side. As I said, I think they're going to go a long way in this game. Let's have a look at the key stats here. The possession, 57% to 43%. Sharks over the Rabbits. You can't hold the ball, guys. You're not going to win. You're not going to win the rugby league, and especially against a class top 4, top 5 side like the Cronulla Sharks. All runs, they were just running rings around South. 201 to 172, 1,974 all metres run to 1,354. They were running rings. How they bombed a couple of tries, but they were still very creative. I thought they were very good. Cronulla just took the foot off the gas pedal in the last 10 minutes. South at least showed a bit of character to come back. Kicking metres, 633. South, the two 40-20s, they were game clenchers from Trindle. Fantastic. Look at this. He is a monster. Mamuzelis, 63 tackles. Well, is that some sort of record? That's phenomenal. 63 tackles in the match. Teague Wilton, a big animal, 39 in the forwards for the Sharks, but 63. God, no wonder Mamzella's had no gas at the end. Most run meters, Campbell Graham, 166, and Kyle Iro, who made several breaks, 264. So that's pretty much expected. Cody Walker had the one line break. Didn't have one of his best matches, but he really wasn't supported by the rest of his team, if you ask me. Ronaldo Mulatalo, one of his set-up tries was fantastic. It was from one end to the other. It was a great try. And just looking forward, South are going to have a long, hard season if they're going to come up against these good sides and play that bad in that side's home ground. You could get someone that's going to just decimate you. So they're going to need to pick the bit up between the teeth. Let's get on to the second match, and surprise win for the Tigers here. As I told you on last Thursday, to stand out for Herbie Farnworth, and that was beautiful value. He was pretty much, I think he's about 11-4, which is really good odds for someone that's a prolific try scorer. Sana Taruba, that's the guy I needed to have it with. But I did tip you Epaw Coruscant. So we've got our money there. Epaw Coruscant played a phenomenal role in that last 10 minutes when West were coming from behind. At half time, it was 18-12, and it looked like Dolphins were going to win the match. But I'll give it to West Tigers. They showed great resilience to come back. Alex Seafarth, who I used to been asking Scotty about, doesn't know too much about, but he's a big lug and very, very hard to stop near the line. Talon De Silva came on and made a big impact. They've got a fairly substantial forward pack, and of course, Terrell May had one of his better games too, I felt. Cody Nicarima went over for the Dolphins. Jack Bostock, off a nice pass from Farnworth, went over for the first try. Jermaine Osako, he kicked 1 from 1. Adam Dewey, 5 from 5. 2 from 3 from Jermaine Osako, my apologies. 5 from 5 from Adam Dewey. He was kicking it from all over the place. And that's going to gain you substantial points. Every point's a winner. Half time, 18-12, penalty goals. It was a good free-flowing match, I felt. And possession rate, 55% eventually to the Tigers. Dolphins seem to just take their foot off the accelerator. I really thought this is their game. When Herbie Farnworth scored a cracking try from Safidi, off the pass of Safidi, I thought this is going to be, and he was playing out of his skin. I felt Farnsworth, and they're all playing really well. And let's have a look here. 1,800 metres the Tigers ran, for only 1,500. Well, got a lot to do with ball in hand, if you ask me. Kicks here, 23. A lot more kicks there from Luai and the boys, and only 17 from the Dolphins. Tackles made. This is going to lose you the match, guys. 378 tackles had to be made for the Dolphins, only 302 for the Tigers. Missed tackles. Here's another stat. Why you lost the game. How you lost the game? I'm still scratching my head. You think Coach Wolfie was pissed off? How must he have felt after that game? Well, he would have been speechless. 32 missed tackles for Dolphins, 24 for Tigers. Most tackles, Max Platt, he's an animal, 45. Terrell May, there you go. Another work animal for West Tigers, 42. 45 Platt for Dolphins, 42 for Terrell May for the Tigers. Herbie Farnworth, most metres run, 209. Fanua Pole played very well, 212 for the West Tigers, most line breaks. Sunia Tarova, 2, and Cody Nicarima is a quick little dasher, isn't he, once he gets into the clear. Let's have a look at the next match. Need to pick it up for, I don't know what Wolfie's got to do to make you guys win. If you're in front, put your foot down on the players' necks from the other side and hold the freaking ball. Turn it into a kicking game. If you're going to take your foot off the accelerator, don't just keep on throwing it around and dropping the ball. The stats are there to prove it. Okay, let's have a quick look now as we get towards the end. We've got a couple of games to cover here. Do we have to talk? We have to talk about this one because I stood out Dylan Lucas, as you know, and he was an omission from the game shortly before the game kicked off. So that really, really hurt me. Thank God for our legendary Bradman Best, who the night of nights scored in the dying minutes of the match to get our money back, basically. And what really killed me, the try scorers I always have in my parlays for the Gold Coast, Jaden Campbell, I've tipped him to you over the last couple of weeks, and Bo Fillmore, I've tipped him to you over the last couple of weeks. And, of course, they both go over. In fact, Scotty tipped David Fafita as well off the bench. He went over as well just to rub salt into the wound. And Jojo Fafita, one of my standout legs, went over. But thank God for Bradman Best, who I also had a small win bet on. I think he was like 11-4 again, pretty much close to 3-1 to go over. Kalen Palmer, geez, I think they missed a lot from Kai Pearce-Paul not being there as well, but no excuses. We've got a really bad record in the Gold Coast at the Gold Coast home at the Super Stadium, and 26-6. It could have been worse, but let's have a look at the stats. They will be telling. Jaden Campbell kicked very, very well. He only missed one. At halftime, it was 12-0, and I knew this is not going to be good. This is not going to be easy. And not long after halftime, I think there was a penalty goal, and Campbell made it 14-0, and I thought, I don't know how we're going to get out of this one. Well, without the defence and the attack that Dylan Lucas gives, he's an absolute legend. I've put him up there with some of the best Newcastle players ever, and potential-wise, I'm saying. But without him, they just looked a little bit lost. They sort of went back to that game that they gave against West Tigers. Passes didn't stick. There was disorganisation. But honestly, Gold Coast were the better side. Let's have a look at the stats before we wrap it up. 41 tackles from Sam Varillas, very good. 56 from Thomas Cairn. He's a player of the future, Thomas Cairn. An absolute work animal. But look at the most run meters. Keanu Kenny, God, he's hard to stop. 221 for the Gold Coast, 186 for Bradman Best. Well, the guy is he's like one of those Jason and the Argonauts. That's what he reminds me of. Just look after your hamstring, Brady. Look after your hamstring. Just don't overdo it. James Schiller, most line breaks. Yeah, he just didn't have the support, Schiller. Something was lacking in it, and we know for mine it was Dylan Lucas. And the worst news for Newcastle, it's not going to be easy for them. It's not going to be easy for that Guernsey over the next couple of weeks, because he's out for an indefinite period of 5 to 6 weeks, but possibly 6 weeks on, Dylan Lucas. So that's been tragedy for the club. It's basically, for mine, it's just as bad as losing Bradman Best, or at least equal. So let's get rid of that match now, because that hurt the heart. It's an affair of the heart, of course, rugby league, isn't it? And we do have our favourite sides. But a lesson for Newcastle, brought them down to earth. They were undefeated until that game, and that's brought them down to, as I say, parmentum, where there's your right level par, the parmentum. Now, the next game, before we wrap the Sunday game up, St George had the bye, of course. Eels, this was an interesting game versus Bulldogs. They, of course, didn't have Kiko and Burton. Wow. Burton's kicking game is such a loss for Bulldogs. I think, as much as Newcastle, they're going to struggle as well with Kickout and Burton missing. We knew it was going to be tough, and finally they started to work together, Eels. They've still got a long way to go, but at least they nearly looked like winning this game at one stage when Bulldogs were out on their feet. Let's have a look. The tries were 3-2. Will Penasini, bang, 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 bang. How I left him out of the try scorers. I have him every time I play Parramatta against anyone. I don't know how I left him out. I did have Josh Addo-Carr, but I didn't have him with any of the try scorers from the Bulldogs. As you know, I stood out Connor Tracy. He played hard, but the missing Burton, he usually works really well with Burton. He didn't run straight enough, I thought, Connor Tracy. He did a lot of work. We'll have a look at more stats in a second. Daniel Saluka for feeder. That was a nice try from the Bulldogs coming from the bench. That was a nice try. Bronson Sherry. Now I had him, but I didn't have Penasini. Bang! Another mistake. So yeah, we missed quite a bit of money over the weekend. Let's have a look at conversions. It was only 1 from 3. Steve Crichton did not kick well. And then, of course, he got that penalty goal right at the end there. Half-time, it was 14-4. So Parramatta at least got on the board. And they did battle hard. So it was good for you Parramatta supporters, or Atlas men, as we like to call them. It was good for you people to get something out of Parramatta. Possession, 49% to Parramatta, 51%. So that's fairly even. There was mistakes. It was an entertaining game, the derby, Parramatta versus Canterbury. It's always been a derby. 195 all runs. It's pretty similar with Canterbury, 203. Not much there. The kicks, 30-30. Fairly even. Kicking meters, a little bit more there for the Dogs. Here's the stat that surprises me a little bit. Tackles made, 391 for the Dogs. Yeah, they didn't hold the ball, I thought, as good as what they usually do. They were a little bit disjointed against Parramatta, and when Parramatta were getting a sniff, it honestly looked like the Dogs could lose that game. 381, 10 tackles made less for the Parramatta side there. Most tackles, 48 for Jermaine Hopgood. He had a blinder for mine for Parramatta. What a work animal he is. Big lug as well. Reid Marnie, 45. He is a little work dog, that Bulldog. Most run meters, 303. Zach Lomax, he played out of his skin. Still think he's trying to do like utility plays, trying to cover on the wing and work up through the centres. Please just go back on the wing. The coach needs to put him back on the wing, I think. But anyway, we'll see what happens over the next 3 or 4 weeks. They need to get their first win very shortly. But they were close. 303, so he worked his arse off there. Lomax, and 211 for Connor Tracy. Yeah, he did work hard, but my goodness, because we stood him out instead of standing up Bronson Cherry, we paid the price in that match. Okay, I thought their forward's a little bit quiet, Bulldogs. I think they're a little bit fortunate to get away with the win. Going forward. Let's get on to the last match before we wrap up today. I'm just looking at the time here. Yeah, we've just got over the 30-minute match. So quickly going over a game for me that was severely controversial. And I had a couple of disallowed tries as well. One of my legs, of course, as you guys know, was Ben Travojevic. That was disallowed. But the Sebastian Chris disallowed try, that was our double. Travojevic into Sebastian Chris. Luckily, Chris scored late, and Hudson Young. So there was our double there that I gave you guys on Thursday. 40-12, and the game was done at half time as far as I'm concerned. I'm going to say one thing here. Ruben Garrick, you will never, ever, pretty boy that you are, okay, there's no doubt about it. Once you're finished, you can do some Clio modelling or what have you. You've got the mad chiseled head. Nothing personal against your brother, but you're not going to score 4 tries again. Canberra were gassed, and I think Ricky Stewart in the press conference complained so much about the repeat sets of 6, and it is my bugbear. Don't like it at all. The repeat sets of 6 that can turn a game against you, and basically once that they were one player short, all the tries were run in by Ethan Bullimore and Ruben Garrick, and the game was basically won at half time. Let's have a look. And the half time score was 30-0. Mentally, how does Canberra pick themselves up after that? They fought hard. Jermaine Fogarty, they all played well. I could see why Ricky Stewart wanted to say more than what he said anyway, let's put it that way. But he's paid so many fines over the past, hasn't he? So he's finally matured and he says, no, I'm not going to answer that. No, I won't answer that. So good for him. But I would have been pissed off as well because but here's the thing yet again, I keep on telling all you punters out there and you NRL fans, if you're going to bet against the home side, especially at Warriors home ground, and here's a perfect example. Look what happened when Manly goes to Warriors. All the favours seem to go the Warriors' way, but anyone that goes to the Seagulls, whatever they call it now, Brookvale Oval, Pines Park, the run of momentum that gets from the crowd, they get in the referees, and it seems to influence them. And I'm not saying there's illegal stuff going on or what have you. However, I really felt sorry for all the players of Canberra. I thought it was a disgrace, and it's the one bugbear that still eats me when it makes a game like that so uninteresting to watch. At 30-0 at halftime, I thought, I can't watch this because it could be anything. And guts to make it 2 tries all for Canberra, who basically did everything to stop Manly from going over a few more times. Don't write them off yet, Canberra. I think they've got a good season to come. Manly, let's see you do that away from home against a really, really good side. I think you're a good side. However, the momentum shift that's basically the referee set up, I could see why there was so many people pissed off. And if you're a Raider supporter, I know you are, Steve Lammy, if you're listening or watching it later on, I would have been for you 100%. Couldn't watch the match. I want to watch every match. And, of course, I did hours and hours of homework watching all the replays of all the matches so I could get my tips ready for this week, which is tomorrow. Join us tomorrow where we're going to have our anytime try scorers standouts, and then we're going to have one, two, or three legs that you can add onto that standout ticket. It's not going to cost you much. If you're playing for $1.50, $2.50, you get a reasonable double because I'm always giving you value here at every point's a winner. We don't look to give you odds on into odds on. You need 4 try scorers at odds on to get 4-1. So we're going to always look for the value, and usually one of those legs is a prolific try scorer. So you've got a bit of an advantage. You just got that little bit of a risk to try and get the second leg up. But we've been on the money. We gave you at least 3 or 4 really good value doubles there. That one with Purdue was nearly up to 16-1, 15-1. And the Leeds Qatar one, I think, was around 9-1. And we gave you 2 other ones through the round 3. But anyway, please subscribe, like and subscribe. Join us usually every Thursday. If I've got an appointment and I've got to have interviews and what have you, because I'm changing careers at the moment, please understand that, and we'll do an afternoon show if I've got appointments. If not, join us every Thursday morning for Every Point's a Winner. Hopefully Scotty can come back to the show shortly. Don't know what's happened to him. He's got some personal things going on at work, a lot of work commitments. And as far as the Dr. Stachivsky is concerned, you need to step up to the mark. Hopefully we'll have Slavko Zapevsky and a couple of the other legends there from the Banksia Hog Squad side come onto the show and help me host Every Point's a Winner. Like and subscribe. We really need to build it up more. It's building slowly, but the more listeners and the more enthusiasm you give me, the more I do my homework and give you winners every week on Every Point's a Winner. God bless until next week. Stay safe. drive safely, and play all your tickets when you write them out. Don't leave one or two, and don't be lazy. Good goodbye for now. Axel Phillips here from the Newcastle Knights, and Bradman Best saying bye. Join us tomorrow morning on Every Point's a Winner.